It's directed by Barry Jenkins.
And it is nominated for 8 Oscars.
This movie is about a guy named Chiron, and his mother is a drug addict, and he goes through a lot of harsh times in his life. And this movie basically goes over him as a child all the way to adulthood. And as he goes through his time, he begins to discover who he actually is. This movie has a very unique way of telling its story. It's split up into 3 acts, and as most movies usually are,
they pause and have like a title sequence when they go to each of these scenes, and they skip a couple of years. It starts off with his boyhood, then it goes to his teenage years, then his adult years.
Probably my biggest strong point would be the acting, especially from, I'm gonna go ahead and try to say this, Mahershala Ali. He was the guy who Chiron kind of looked up to in this movie, who he kind of had a strong bond with in this movie, and I liked his acting. And I actually did like, I'm gonna say I actually did like all 3 of the people who played Chiron.
I agree. I think the acting in this movie was solid. I don't really have any complaints about it. I did think everybody who was in this movie had a good part. Mahershala Ali was actually probably my favorite character in this movie, even though he was barely in it. He was definitely one of my favorite characters. Another thing that was good in this movie was the cinematography. I love the way they shot, especially the opening sequence. There's like a whole like 5 to 10 minute sequence where it's just, I love the way that they decided to film these certain scenes.
Not only did I like the way the story was told and the way it was split up, I thought that was an interesting, unique way to how the story was told. I actually did enjoy the kind of story that it had. It was a very interesting story to see, and I did like how it wasn't just this generic type of movie that you see with these kind of elements that are placed in this movie.
I agree, not to spoil anything, but I did like how they introduced some aspects of this movie. I like how they went for it. The story I felt was probably another one of my big points of this movie that I liked. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I actually was really disappointed in this movie. One of the biggest points that I didn't really like at all was the way that they put the movie together. I felt like it was very poorly put together. The way they edited some of the scenes, especially the breaks. I like the idea of splitting it up into 3 sections. I just felt like in between those sections, they skipped a whole bunch. They skipped over a whole bunch of important things that happen in Chiron's life.
I wasn't fully against the fact that they kind of skipped over a few things, and that, I mean, it could be done in a better way. They could have skipped over things in a better way, maybe brought them up in certain ways later on in the story. Not like just full on just randomly said stuff, but like kind of fit them in the story. They could have done that, but they never actually did that. And after a while, it kind of just got a little confusing on what was actually going on in certain parts, because sometimes even not even including the break, sometimes just within the act itself, there were certain parts that they kind of went around, and it kind of got a little confusing within that.
Yeah, the way they edited it together, it just didn't flow together. Like, it wasn't a really cohesive movie, really.
No.
I felt like the first 2 acts were pretty solid. I'm not gonna say they're super strong, but they're pretty solid. And then especially the 3rd act just really fell flat for me.
Yeah, the 3rd act I really didn't like. Like you said, the 1st and 2nd act, I honestly did love the 1st and 2nd act as separate pieces, but the 3rd act kind of felt like it just wanted the movie to end. Not like I wanted it to, but just the movie itself felt like it was like, oh man, we need to go and hurry this movie up. It needs to end. And it was such a weird, abrupt ending, and it was just so strange. And also, I just felt like the ending, the last act was just poorly written as well.
Now, going back to Mahershala Ali's character, him and his girlfriend, they seemed like they were gonna be big parts in Chiron's life. It seemed like they're pretty much gonna be the ones who raised them. And later on in the movie, it seemed like they were the ones who pretty much raised them. But they were barely in the movie, so it was hard to really care for them. And they were honestly some of my favorite characters. So I would love that they were more in the movie, and it would have made sense for them to be more in the movie, but they were barely in this movie.
Yeah, another, just to build off of that is another big issue I have with this movie is the kind of growth they had and development in this movie between relationships was either not there. I mean, like, you could tell, if you like looked in between the acts, I guess you could tell it was, but they never really showed it in the movie. They never really gave me that reason to just like to care about this thing, And there's also other relationships, and I don't want to go into detail of what these relationships are, but they don't. They kind of just jumped on it. They kind of just go too quickly, and especially in the third act is what I'm talking about. Is it had this relationship that was kind of. It's not like it wasn't. It's not like it was out of nowhere. It's just that it was really quick and really fast, and it was way too fast for me. Also, development-wise, another thing I didn't like about this movie was the development of characters, and especially the main character, Chiron. He has this development all throughout the movie that it's supposed to seem like it should be there, but it's not, and especially in the last act, which, you know, the first and second act, you know, that's fine, you know. You don't have to have him have this huge growth in between those two acts because he's young. But then you go to the last act, and I felt like he never really had a full change in character. He began to understand certain things about himself, but he never actually had that full character arc. He never had that full character change that gave me a reason to actually be like at the end of the movie. Yeah, I like this character because it never gave me that reason to like this character.
The first two acts, you could tell there's a steady rise in his character. He is sort of growing as a person. And then I felt the third act, he just sort of like hovered where he was at. There isn't really any growth in the third act.
You know, and to be quite honest, I was really disappointed in this movie. From what I've heard about this movie, I heard it was just this great movie. You know, it was close to flawless. That's what I've heard this several times. Whether or not it's reviews on YouTube, reviews on IMDb, certain different reviews, critics. I've heard that it's such a great movie, and I watched this movie. And I'm not gonna. Don't get me wrong. Whenever I watch movies and I have expectations for them, I don't go in there like expecting something and then getting let down. I go in this movie saying, okay, I'm gonna watch this movie as it is and base it off of that. And this movie just wasn't that great. There were certain parts about it that I can understand the nominations for, which was for cinematography. But for best movie, I'm not sure if I actually fully agree with that nomination.
Yeah, definitely not film editing. I felt like that was the worst part of this movie, was the editing.
Now guys, obviously I didn't love this movie. You can go ahead and go see it. It's okay to watch. It's a harmless movie to go see. It's not a terrible movie to watch, but it's definitely not up there on the top of my list. So I'm gonna go ahead and give Moonlight a B-.
I honestly didn't really like this movie that much. I felt like they didn't really have the movie flow very well at all. I didn't feel like it was put together very well at all. The acting was good, the story was good, it just wasn't a well put together movie. So I'm gonna give Moonlight a C+.
Well guys, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to this video. Also, comment below, let us know what you thought about this movie, if you disagree with us, because a lot of people do, obviously. Also, let us know what you thought about this review as well.
And don't forget to follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at 2awesomemen, the number 2.
Also guys, this is our 7th review over the Oscar nominations for 2017. I will put down below in the description the links to our other ones that we reviewed so far. Also, we have already seen the rest of them so far, which are Fences and Lions, so we'll be putting up those reviews as well. And guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and you will see us later.